Mummy loves you.
So much.
Hi, this is Vicky of SingleMotherAhoy.com and you're listening to my podcast. This podcast is going to be another update on the gratitude project that I'm doing. For those who don't know, I am doing a year-long happiness project this year, and each month I'm doing a different challenge with the idea that it's something designed to make me feel more happy. So in January, I sang every day with Samara, usually the same songs. We're creatures of habit, and it was really nice. Actually, now that I think about it, I really, it's been a few days since we sang together, and it does calm me, and it makes me feel a lot happier, so I need to keep doing that. February was a weight loss thing. It didn't go terribly well, but I've carried that on for this month. March, what I'm doing, thinking of 3 things for which I'm grateful every day and posting them on Facebook. Now, the beginning of the month was really difficult, and the first few days I would sort of sit on my sofa in kind of late in the evening and think, what can I say? What can I put? What can I, I've got to think of 3 things, 3 whole things. What can I possibly have to say? It was really, really difficult, and it was a bit like pulling teeth. Now it's the 18th of the month, so I'm more than halfway through the month, and I'm finding it a lot easier. And I think I just feel more positive generally, to be honest. So looking back over the last week, the things that I've been grateful for and posting about the most, unsurprisingly, relate to Samara. So things like the other day, I was cooking in the kitchen, and my kitchen and living room are linked, so I could hear what she was doing and see what she was doing. She was happily concentrating really hard on peeling the backs off these little stickers and sticking them onto a box. And she was sort of, as she was doing it, she was saying because the stickers were letters and numbers, so she was sort of saying what she thought the letter or the number was, and kind of singing to herself and sticking it on, and it was just lovely to watch her doing. She was just so happy in herself and kind of content not to be looking. I think the telly wasn't even on, so she wasn't looking at the telly, she wasn't interested in what I was doing. She was really kind of involved in her little project, and it was really lovely to see. Another thing, nursery had a dance-a-thon last week, and they were in the church hall next door to the nursery, and I went in a bit early to pick her up because I hadn't been able to make it to the actual event. And I kind of sneaked in and kind of saw where she was, and she was playing with her key worker, and it was just really nice to see. She was playing with her, she was kind of putting something in her face and doing proper belly laughs, the kind of laugh that you can just never hear too much of. It was really, really lovely to see, and that really made my day, especially after, I know last month she had a couple of weeks where she was really funny about going into nursery. But to see her doing that really reassured me that, no, she does love nursery, and she has a really, not just, she gets by and she's okay, she has a fantastic time at nursery, and it was really nice to see that. Another thing, we went to a local farming college which had an open day, and we went on tractor rides, we saw lambs. It was lambing weekend, so we saw lots of lambs, but also cows, we saw pigs, even lemurs and peacocks. There were some deer, and we went on 3 tractor rides. Honestly, I've never seen Samara. She jumped and, danced the entire day. She was so pleased to be there. It was lovely. And we even got to go into the milking parlour and watch them milk the cows, which was like really unusual, I think, to be able to see that, especially for a toddler so young. I was talking to my friend about how kind of kids don't know where their food comes from and things like that, and I was thinking, actually, I'd never been into a milking parlour that I can recall, and obviously I don't know that she'll necessarily remember that as she grows up, but you can kind of link it back to that, and it's just a really nice thing to do, I think, and a privilege for us, because I don't drive, we don't do things like that very often, so it was quite fun. And then also last week, I went to Mother's Day tea at nursery, which was really lovely. Being a single parent, Mother's Day tends to kind of pass unmarked in our house. She doesn't, she'll make me a card at nursery or something, but we don't tend to do anything. It was really nice to go to Mother's Day tea at nursery, and we kind of, all the mums kind of sat in on tables with the children next to us, and we had sandwiches and like cocktail sausages and crisps and things, and then we had lovely homemade cakes as well, because their cook is amazing. And then at the very end of it, Samara had a flower to give to me, which was really lovely, and we brought it home, put it in a vase, and it's a week later, I'm looking at it, it's still absolutely perfect. It's really, really lovely. had a really nice time. And it's nice to have nursery mark that, because obviously, you know, she's not old enough to go to the shop and buy me something. She's not really old enough to understand it, but we did something together, which was really lovely. Like I said, most of my stuff that I post generally in my life is about Samara, but most of my stuff that I've, you know, my gratitude posts have been about Samara, purely because she's just a massive part of my life, and the good parts of my days usually involve her. Some of the things that didn't involve her, things like somebody gave me a new camera, which I was absolutely gobsmacked with, and hopefully you have noticed the photography on my blog and on my Facebook is a bit better quality now that I've got a decent camera. I had 2 hours on a train the other day, and it was definitely the most productive 2 hours of my week. I was determined not to waste that time, so I took my Kindle and my notepad, and I just made pages and pages of notes of ideas and drafts of blog posts and all sorts of things. It was really, really productive, and I came home really buzzing to get writing and get things going, which was really good. Also, my Lighthouse friends, I set up a networking group with a couple of friends last month, and we've had a really good month, really positive feedback from our first meeting. Our next meeting's next week. And just whenever I see them, we just kind of bounce ideas off each other and chat, and they give me really good feedback on my work and things. And it's nice to have that kind of working relationship with people. I think we're all kind of on the same page with our work ethic and what we think of things. And it's really nice to have that. And finally, the last thing that was not Solera related that I was grateful for, somebody who I quite kind of aspire to be like and quite look up to her, told me I was inspiring, which I found absolutely gobsmacking and really quite flattering, really, for me. And it was really nice to hear, so it kind of made my day a bit. So that's kind of an overview of the things that I've, you know, I sit down kind of usually about 9 o'clock in the evening and think, well, what can I say I'm grateful for today? And it has got a lot easier. And I don't know if that's because I've had a nicer week or because just generally I'm getting more used to looking for the nicer things, or perhaps the two go together. Perhaps I'm getting used to looking for nicer things, so there are more nice things there. I don't know. Anyway, so that's how things are going. It has been so far. It's been a really good month. I've really enjoyed doing this project. Like I said, I have found it easier, and I think I'm feeling more positive generally. I think it is right that you do train your brain into this, and it is something I do wish I'd learned a long time ago, that you could do that, because, you know, I had a massive breakdown. It would have been handy if someone had said to me, do this, you know, force yourself to do this every day and you will get better at it and it will make you feel more positive. It's strange that they don't tell people that, to be honest, because I do think a lot of it is that you need to train your brain, and kind of doing CBT and things like that are a version of that. But the CBT that I had was largely ineffective because it was somebody basically reading from handouts to me, and it felt like, I think I remember saying at one point, like, great, now they gave me like a housework sheet, a timetable to fill in for doing my housework. And I was like, great, so I'll follow this timetable when I get home, and I'll have nice clean dishes. But since I'm not eating anything anyway, they're not dirty, and what I really want to do is fling them all on the floor and roll about in the shards. So you've not solved any problem at all except for one that you've just made up. It was a completely pointless exercise for me. And I feel like if they'd said to me, writing down 3 things a day is not a big ask. I know when you're depressed and kind of in this pit of eternal stench, everything's a big ask. But that, to me, is less of a big ask than all the crap that you get given with this CBT nonsense that I really didn't go in for. If they'd said to me, just sit down at the end of the day and think of 3 things for which you're grateful. And you can, I mean, when you start off, you can pick things like, you know, I didn't die today, or, you know, the doorbell didn't ring so I didn't have to speak to anybody, or, you know, my friend called me, or there was a nice show on telly, or just really simple things. And it does get easier, and I really wish they would use that in kind of depression therapy, or, like, you know, any sort of thing like that. I think it should be more widespread, and I shouldn't be some kook doing podcasts about weird shit. Everybody should do it. I think it's great. It's not the idea of kind of being more positive, looking on the bright side of things, searching out things to be positive about. I don't think that's kind of ignoring bad things. Like, people go, yeah, but you still need to know what's going on in the world. It's not like I don't listen to the news, or I don't know what my bank balance looks like, or I don't know that I need to pay the bills. It's about going, oh, right, yeah, that happened, and then does it affect me? Yes, no, yes, I feel bad about it. Can I do anything about it? Not sitting there dwelling on things, and kind of looking at, all right, I need to pay that bill. Anyway, what was I doing? Carry on with the things you were doing and not getting bogged down in it. And also, I'm one of these people that gets affected by things that throwaway comments that people make. They really do. I take them personally, and I know I shouldn't. And I think this project's helping me with that, because it's like I'll kind of go on to this whole negative thing, and I've noticed it now. One person can say one thing to me, and I'll start to get really caught up in that and really negative. And then, so I'll think to myself, don't think about that, think about something else. And I end up thinking about something else, somebody else, something negative, and kind of moving it, but very negative. Once you're kind of started off on that track, it's very easy to follow it and kind of leapfrog into other negativity and other things that have been eating you up for months and you're really pissed off about. But if you can kind of stop it in its tracks, then you can get back onto being more positive and happy. Again, that's another thing I really wish they would teach people. They should teach this stuff in schools, because realistically, we're all depressed. Loads of people are depressed at the moment. It's like, so many people are on. I remember one time telling somebody, who did I said to somebody, I was like, confessed that I was on antidepressants. And the whole table, 5 or 6 people went, yeah, me too. And I just thought, God, is there anybody that's not? Do I know anybody that's never been on antidepressants? Really? Why don't they teach these coping skills, these life skills to people early on? It's scientifically proven that you can brighten your mood by doing these really simple things, and we don't teach them to children, and we should. I think I'm going to keep up with the gratitude, maybe not on Facebook so much, I don't know, but definitely I'm going to try and keep writing things down, because I think it really does help. And I think also just the attitude of, I need to try and be more positive, not letting negativity affect me so much. Just having that attitude has made a difference, and it's only been this month really that I've started doing that. And also, I'm a massive fan of The Secret. I've lost count of the amount of people that I've just said to you, have you seen The Secret? Go and find it. It's on Netflix. It's really good. And although, you can take what you want from it and you can call it kooky nonsense, you can call it what you like, but for me, the law of attraction is a big part of this, and it's a big part of kind of feeling positive and sending positivity out there into the world. And I'm kind of really interested in the whole idea of sending more positivity out and kind of having good things happen to you and building on that momentum. I like the idea of, like if you find that you really dislike somebody, or that, somebody bothers you, I like the idea of thinking, okay, I don't like them because of this, but can I think of something positive about that person? Is there something, can I turn this around in some way? It's a real challenge sometimes with certain people, but I think it's a good challenge, and it's good to challenge yourself in that way, and it's good to stop and think, why is it that I don't like this person? Sometimes, quite often, this person has done nothing wrong, but they remind you of somebody that wronged you in some way 20 years ago or something. Or, they've done nothing wrong, but they look a bit like somebody, or they said something that, they might have a different political view to you, or they've upset you in some way that, but, it might just be that you didn't like their t-shirt on the day that you met them, and we make these snap judgments in our heads, and then we just have this thought at the back of our heads that we don't like this person, we don't really know why. I think it's a good habit to get into, to kind of stop that process and kind of go, question that voice inside your head and go, well, what's wrong with this person? Why don't you like this person? What has this person actually done? And that kind of, I don't know, just the self-questioning aspect of it, I think is a really useful thing to do. So that's what I'm trying to do. That's how the project is going. I'm finding it really helpful. I do hope that other people are finding this interesting. If anybody else is trying to do this project, or is doing this project, or this sort of thing, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear how you're getting on. I'd love to hear your thoughts about it as well. If you think it's interesting, if you've, read anything about it, interesting articles, things like that, I'd love to hear from you. So do give me a shout. That's it for this week. Thank you for listening, and I'll be back next week. Bye-bye.
Click me, mummy. Click me, mummy.